Welcome to the Hang 10 World Open Hang Glider Championship, a most spectacular flying event designed to determine through specific aerial discipline the best pilot with the best prepared hang glider in the world. We're in California at Escape Country, where over 300 pilots have gathered to decide the world crown. Many flights will be required, but first, entrants must prove their ability by qualifying from the safety of the lower 500-foot hill. After tech inspection, participants fly a precisely designated course in and out of stationary carousels. They receive points for their ability to safely navigate each turn. After completing the aerial maneuvers, pilots fly toward the landing area where they must cross an all-important foul line. This bright yellow line will eliminate many good pilots in the World Open, for failure to cross it results in 0 points for the entire flight. Many land way short, many just inches. If a pilot does make it across the foul line, it's on to the target for an on-your-feet landing. Such is not always the case, and it will cost in safety points. But qualifying rounds will weed out those that will do anything to land in the target. Even with some wild landings, no one was hurt throughout the entire qualifying round. 11 different nations entered the Hang 10 World Open, including Australia's champion pilot, Stephen Moyes. He qualified on the last day with 2 perfect textbook flights, and his style impressed all as he always landed squarely on the bullseye. Japan. They had the largest contingency of pilots, led by H. Horikawa with 155 points in the qualifying rounds. Out of the 24 pilots who entered, Japan led with 6 pilots. Raymond Alvarez from Tamarine, Guam just missed qualifying with 175 points, 177 being the cutoff. Many other countries, such as Sweden, Poland, Mexico, England, and France, were unable to make the qualifying rounds. Canada's Chris Smith just missed the semifinals with 175 points. Another impressive pilot was Daniel Arnay, one of the Brazilian pilots. He qualified with 190 points. Seen here, heading for another bullseye. Daniel is expected to do very well in the semifinal rounds, and we'll be back with that action in a moment. With qualifying rounds complete, the remaining 100 pilots moved to the 1,500-foot launch site to compete in the speed run. This event is a good test of the pilot's judgment. A fast flight cuts through the available lift. Time is gained, but some altitude lost. Too much speed, not enough lift, and you'll come up short. The landing area is over 1 mile away from the launch site, and the pilots know it. So that leaves no room for error. We have good winds today, and we'll take a look at one of the top qualifiers, Brian Porter of Merced, California. He flies a unique design, an easy riser biplane. In this event, pilots must fly above a gate midway through the run in order to be scored. Brian clears that gate with good time. A minimum flight of 1 minute and 45 seconds will earn a pilot 70 points. 10 seconds are added to the score if a pilot fails to clear either of the carousels near the landing area. Brian clears that first carousel. No penalty points, heading toward the second one. No penalty points, and he's in good shape as he heads toward that bullseye. 6 rings, 30 for a bull, 5 on the outside. 70 for a flight. Brian in good shape. In the air now, the defending world champion, Greg Mitchell from Mission Viejo, California. He puts together a good flight and earns 75 points, and this one temporarily puts him in the lead in the semifinals. Here's Dr. Howard Long. He comes to the World Open with a most interesting glider called the Mitchell Wing, no relation to the defending world champion. This design is over 30 years old, and this is the first flying replica since those early days. Too much speed as he comes into the landing area. Look at him. He's going to go right past the target, no points, and he'll get a -5 as he noses that glider into the ground on his safety. That's too bad for Dr. Long. He'll wind up with just 32 points, and that puts him out of the running. Another one of the more interesting designs is called the VJ-23, here piloted by Don Weens. He built this glider completely from scratch. It's the heaviest glider in the World Open, weighing in at 103 pounds. It's stick-controlled, like conventional aircraft, but still glider because it's foot-launched. Don now in the landing area. He too, you can see him with the stick, too much ground speed, right on past the target. One of the favorites, Steve Patmont. In last year's World Open held at Escape Country, he was the only pilot with a fixed-wing glider, and he finished in the top 10. His finish last year has been much talked about, for these gliders are heavier and much harder to land. He's a little high for a good time. This is a speed event. Look at him turning that dive. That's what you call working on some altitude in a hurry. He's a little high in this part of the run, takes a dive, approaches the landing area, and another dive. Look at this. Picks up the speed. Incredible. Not good time on the top of the run, but Patmont making up some of that time as he approaches the landing area. Around the first carousel, he's got a good line for the second carousel, but he's going too far. Patmont is going too far. He'll go beyond that second carousel, and this is going to cost him all the time he gained with those two radical dives. Let's watch as he heads into the landing area.
Heads up, you guys. He's coming in this way.
Really? Cranking around.
He's in good shape, but he's waited a little bit too long. Bad time. He's only going to get 48 points. Here comes a flare. That's it. 48, and Patmont, one of the favorites, out of the competition. Back up on top now. Bob Wills. He was the runner-up in last year's World Open, and he is also a past national champion. All observers expect that he will make it into the Day of Champions, the final round. Bob's speedrun flight. Coming into the landing area, Bob Wills doing very well on time. Gets around both carousels and now heads to the target. Over that foul line. He's in good shape for a bull. Big flare. Look at him. Tries to walk into it. That doesn't work, Bob. It'll be 25 and 5. That moves him up amongst the leaders. Again, Greg Mitchell, defending world champion. Later in the day, he is on a giant aerial slalom flight. Two parts to this event. First, a series of 360-degree turns, then down a distance run. Lots of altitude, very flat, smooth turns. So Greg doing very well on the first part, the 360-degree turns. Now back and down that distance run. Greg has gone one too many. He went to the second distance carousel, and he is in trouble. The defending world champion is ground skimming way short of the foul line. Greg Mitchell is going to be out of it with a 0. Absolutely unbelievable. We'll be back with final round action in a moment. Sunday, the Day of Champions. Over 300 pilots entered. The top 10 remain. Tom Pagini of Newton, Massachusetts goes into the Day of Champions with 183 points. Dave Saffold and Bob Wills from California are in a three-way tie with Simon Smith of Irving, Texas for second place. Paul Courtney, Honolulu, Hawaii, third. Brian Porter is fourth. Another Honolulu pilot, Dave Vincent, made it into the final rounds. as did California pilots Trip Millinger and Curtis Kiefer, plus Oregon's Bruce Waugh. The flags wave in honor of the 11 nations that entered. Unfortunately, none of the overseas pilots made it into those final rounds, but all promised to be back next year. It's a beautiful California day at Escape Country. The crowds pour in, anticipation builds. Before today is over, a new world champion will be crowned. It's up top. Bob Whirls, currently in tie for second place, wires up for his speed run flight. Three events for the day, the first being speed run, then giant aerial slalom, then aerial ballet. Over the gate into the first carousel for Bob, just barely gets around it. The flags wave, he'll be scored. And a good clean turn around that second carousel. Now he's ground skimming. Still has airspeed, so he'll be in good shape for his target. Here he comes over the foul line. He's in good shape. Big flare, might get a bull. No, he stumbles. That right foot. Bob will only get 25 points. He stumbles, hits the ground. That right foot goes out. We look at Tom Pagini, current leader. His speed run flight. Tom into the landing area, gets around the first carousel, on a good line over to the second, gets around it, no penalty points, now in for the target. Here he comes, that's a big high flare. Just misses a bullseye for that right foot, but hangs on to the lead. Here's Trip Millinger, a Bennett team flyer. He's a little behind and will need a near perfect flight. On the speed run, he gets through the gate all right, flag waving. But Trip, he's passing on that first carousel. That will add 10 seconds to his score. Taking a bit of a gamble here, trying to make it up on the lower end of the run. Trip coming into the landing area, 10-second penalty. Over the foul line, he is in good shape. Big flare, here he comes and touches down. Look at it again, just missed a bull. 71 points. That'll move him right up into third place. Here's Dave Saffold, the young man from Santa Barbara. He's been flying very consistent from the start. Gets through the gate. He's been flying hang gliders for 5 years, and this is his first official competition. Doesn't lose any time between the two carousels. Now on to the landing area for a bullseye. The flight looks good. He's in good shape all the way around. Look at the flare. He does it inside bullseye for Dave Saffold. Here's Brian Porter. He's currently in 4th place, but his biplane is the fastest glider in the Day of Champions. Off on the speed run. Coming into the landing area, Porter has the best intermediate time of the meet. Look at the speed as he goes across to that second carousel. His time is excellent. If he lands anywhere within the target, he'll move up with the leaders. Here he comes. Good time. Landing gear down. He's going to wind up with 86 points. Just misses a bull, and look at the strength in this man's legs. Hangs on to it. No penalty points. Dave Saffold checks the adjustment on his harness. Second flight of the day, giant aerial slalom. Lots of altitude, finishing up his turns. First part, 360-degree turns. Gets to the second carousel on the distance run and heads for home. Comes in, he's got too much speed. He's going to have problems. High flare, a real high flare. Misses the bull off and noses it into the ground. That's going to cost him his safety points. Look at the nose, right into the ground. Trip Millinger, Brian Porter, and Dave Saffold are all moving up, and Bob Wills knows it. He'll need a good giant slalom flight to catch up. Back up on top. Bob on the giant slalom. Good altitude. He's doing well in the 360-degree turns, but only gets to that second distance marker, and he's got a problem. Bob Wills has an altitude problem. He's way on the other side of that foul line, and he's going to come up short. He'll receive a 0 for the flight and lose any hope for the world crown. That's it. An unbelieving Bob Wills just walks off the landing area. Paul Courtney, one of the Hawaii Flyers. He needs top flight here to catch up with the leaders. Doing well on the turns, but losing a lot of altitude. This is going to cost him on the distance run. Look at the altitude loss. Didn't have enough to get into those distance runs. That'll cost him, and he'll have to make it up in the ballet. Here he comes in. Look at the altitude, big flare. He'll have to make up for it in the ballet flight. Brian Porter is just 2 points from the lead. He's been doing very well with his landing points, better than Pat Mont did last year. The Easy Riser is about 5 pounds lighter than its predecessor, the Icarus II, so this is obviously helping on his landings. Lots of altitude. Gets maximum points on the 360-degree turns, now going down that distance run, and he's going to get maximum points there. Brian Porter comes into the landing area with all the points you can earn, and this will definitely put him in first place. Here he comes for his landing attempt. Let's see what he can do. He's in good shape. Look at him fly the glider right into the ground. Well, that establishes it. Brian Porter is the leader. Dave Saffold in second, and Tom Pagani will drop way back. Trip Millinger in the aerial slalom has moved up into third. Next up will be the aerial ballet. This is the last time up the hill in the Hang Ten World Open, and the pressure is starting to build. The pilots know it. This is the only non-compulsory event in the Hang Ten World Open. Tom Pagani going through his music in his mind on his ballet flight. Tom Pagani, Newton, Massachusetts, comes into the landing area, 72 points. That will give him a total of 405. The target doesn't count in this event. And here comes Trip Millinger. Trip has moved up into third place, his aerial ballet. Into the landing area, 88 points for Trip Millinger, gives him a total of 408. That will definitely give him at least third. Here's Simon Smith, Irving, Texas. A look at Curtis Kiefer on his ballet. Simon Smith receives 70 points, giving him 387. Not enough. And here comes Curtis Kiefer on his landing. 78 points. That will give him a total of 346 again. Not enough. Back up on top. Paul Courtney, the Hawaiian. Beautiful turns. He should do well. And he does 90 points, just 10 from the maximum, 407 total. Here comes Bob Wills. He had the 0 on the aerial slalom. He's expected to do very well in this event. Bob comes into the landing area with 90 points. Just 10 from the maximum, but only a total of 333 due to that 0 in the second event for the day. More to come. Brian Porter, he's the leader right now. Comes into the landing area with 82 points, gives him a total of 438. That'll keep him in first place. Here's the only man that has a hope to catch him, Dave Saffold, currently in second. He should score very well. Comes into the landing area, a good score, 90. That gives him 427, but still, he's 10 points behind the leader. And that's it, the last official flight. The scores are tabulated, and David leaves the field. Trip Millinger, he finishes third from Van Nuys, California. David Saffold from Santa Barbara, California is the runner-up. And the winner of the Hang 10 World Open Hang Glider Championship, Mr. Brian Porter from Merced, California. Brian Porter, a very, very happy man. The Hang 10 World Open Hang Glider Championship has been decided. The event had over 1,200 official flights without a single injury. Pilots crossed many oceans to be a part of this event. New friends were made, and the competition was outstanding. The sun sets, goodbyes are echoed, and the sentiments are, wait till next year.